It's exactly 7 p.m. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Press Pass on Assassin 99.5 Accra. My name is Gemma Apia. I'm your host for tonight. Press Pass is your midweek current affairs show where we bring our newsmakers together to discuss topical issues of the week to help you make sense of them. Tonight, we take a look at the biggest story of the week in Ghana. President Mahama has suspended the Chief Justice, Getu Tokonu, after a prima facie case was established against her in respect of 3 petitions submitted to the president seeking her removal. A 5-member committee has also been set up to inquire into the petitions referred to them. The minority has described the president's action as a brazen judicial coup, a reckless abuse of executive power, and a direct assault on the independence of Ghana's judiciary. But the government says the president has not breached the constitution. We'll have a conversation on that. Also, the NPP has begun its thank you tour after losing the 2024 general election. The flag bearer of the party earlier today at the headquarters attributed the defeat to voter apathy among its supporters. We also look at that. Joining me in studio to have these conversations, our private legal practitioner, Sika Antobre. Sika, welcome.
Thank you.
Tabitha Ayila is the NPP communications team member. Tabitha, welcome.
Thank you, Kema.
We are streaming live on Facebook and X at Assassin Radio 995. Do well to join us with your thoughts and comments. I'll be glad to read them. So let's get right into our conversation. The first conversation for the evening. And we have come a long way since Felix Kwatio-Fosu, the government's communication minister, first announced that the president had received 3 petitions seeking the removal of the Chief Justice. We traveled from there. The president, in fact, the Chief Justice writing to the president that she's yet to receive these petitions to respond, and the president actually sending the petitions to her and asking her to respond within 10 days. She did so, and then the petition together with the response were forwarded to the Council of State. We also know about the court case, which is to be heard on the 6th of May. We have come this far, and we had the president yesterday suspending the Chief Justice. Sika, I'll come to you. What's your reaction to where we are now?
Well, good evening to everyone listening. We've discussed this matter on this show a couple of weeks ago,
right,
and we were looking at whether the procedure used by the president was right or otherwise. And I'm sure flowing from there, we knew we could get here because if you've had opportunity to look at the petition, the response, which I've had, you would want to find out. I don't know whether you permit me to go into some of the matters now or come back to it.
So I just want your initial reaction. We will come back and deal with the substantive issues in the petitions.
So for me, it's unfortunately we're here. Even though in a democratic society you expect, some of these things to come up, because the petitioners are ordinary Ghanaians who are participating in democracy. If they feel that the Chief Justice or any officer of government has a question to answer, and there's a certain procedure for that person to go through in answering that, then that should be invoked and it should be respected. However, there are levels and limits to what could be invoked at what time. And so for me, my initial comment is that it's rather quite unfortunate that the Chief Justice had to be suspended, even though we may be assuming that that's democracy. I don't think we should have gotten there by now. If you go into the substance of the matter, and if the document that we have had, opportunity to read is anything to go by as the truth as received by the President and the Council of State. But mind you, the Council of State has a lot of legal brains there, so I don't know what advice they had given the President. Anyway, he was mandated not to. He's not mandated to have gone with their suggestions or not. So we don't know what they told him and what he made out of it and why we're here.
Tabitha.
Yes. So With this issue, it's worrying to see that the president is using everything within his reach to cool down the CJ, and it's unfortunate, as he indicated. I never envisaged this day coming, because I was aware that
you didn't.
I didn't see that coming.
The three petitions were forwarded to the president,
yes,
and the government announced it. You didn't see this coming.
Yes, prior to this, I somewhere last year, people petitioned the president to suspend, or should I say fire, the CJ, which per the president's whatever they gathered at the end of the day, they realized no, it's not enough grounds to stand on that and suspend the CJ. So that particular petition was annulled, if I should put it that way. Then we have the president, the duly elected president, come and he wants to act on some of these petitions. The question I asked myself is it something that was prejudiciary? Did he envisage doing this to her even before assuming the presidency? And there is evidence to back that claim that they actually had plans of touching her. They actually have plans of touching the EC chair. And all these things were made bare when they had, I think they had a conference or a meeting, a gathering for their lawyers that are affiliated to their party. They had a meeting at home, and all these things were espoused. They made it clear that when they come, they will make sure that they bring, I don't know whether to use the word sanity, to the judicial sector.
Reset the judiciary.
Yes. To them, what they think was going on was probably madness, according to them, because anytime they go to court and probably things don't go their way, they feel that no, they feel aggrieved, and they think it is something that they should do when they should assume power. But you see, if you are assuming that all appointees that were made by the former president are politically exposed, then are you not also politically exposed to also make these appointments going forward as a president? Whoever you are now appointing to take over from her, the CJ, is also politically exposed, because you are a political person who is making these appointments. Now, the substantive issues that they are standing on to suspend the woman, honestly, to some of us, I'm not a legal brain, but I have read from other people who are legal brains, and they claim that it is frivolous, okay? It is not something that is enough grounds for you to suspend the CJ. And you see, we are all watching the president harass, abuse the judiciary, and you are not seeing the judiciary, coming out to say things like,
why are you accusing the president when there were three individuals, members of the public, who petitioned the president? It was not the president who said, okay, it's time for me to make changes or to remove the Chief Justice, so I've gone ahead to suspend her. This was based on the petitions that he received from ordinary people.
Yes, but you see, these ordinary people, as you indicated, they are Ghanaians, yes, and they've come to lay a complaint. Now, you see, I was thinking that there should have been some level of, like, the due process. Like, the due process should have been followed, okay, for you to arrive at this point where you have to suspend the CJ. The CJ's response just came, I think, within some days. She was suspended, and I asked myself, did they even have enough time to read through what her response was, and why are they basing, what grounds are they standing on to suspend her? Because you haven't given the person fair hearing. So why have you gone ahead to suspend and to appoint?
But
somebody to act on her behalf.
Acting, it's in the constitution that if the Chief Justice is not available, the senior most should be acting. So it's almost automatic. If the CJ has been suspended,
yes, so
then the next senior most. But you seem to suggest that it is some. I mean, it's premeditated, and they just came into power.
That is it. You know, that's why I referred you back to the meeting they had prior to they being voted into power. The meeting was done in Volta region, where they gathered lawyers who are affiliated to their political party. And these things were said there. Asiedun Ketia is on record to have said that the CJ must be touched. Okay? Not only Asiedun Ketia, you also have their National Communications Director, Sami Jemfi, also saying same. He's not the only one. There are a lot of them who have made it clear that the CJ has to be fired, even before they were voted into power. And so if I say it, it's not like I am saying it. I'm saying it based on their own utterances. Okay? And you see, the question I have been asking myself is, there are things that Ghanaians want to see happen within your first 120 days. Your 120-day social contract to the Ghanaian has not been fulfilled. In fact, per what we are gathering, they are doing less than 40% of what they promised the people of Ghana. But you see, if you channel all your energies into suspending the CJ, firing people, you know what happened recently at Tamale Teaching Hospital? You understand? They do not even give you the chance to explain yourself.
But in the case of the CJ, the president wrote to her and told her that he had received 3 petitions. The CJ should respond within 10 days, and she did. We will go into the petitions, what is contained in the petitions, and the responses from the Chief Justice. But she was giving
time to respond. Yes, which she has. That's what I'm saying. At least they should have given some time to read through the content, and maybe if there is substance in it.
You think they didn't do that? The Council of States didn't do that?
I don't think that is what they did, because the kind of, for instance, just as you said, we'll be going into the substance of the issue. You come and you lay a petition before the president that a decision was taken. Probably it didn't go according to the way you wanted. And this decision was not taken by the CJ alone. She took it with other people. Okay? But you are only fingering her and asking that she should be suspended. And you ask yourself, is this fair?
But why do you think, we are also hearing that 2 new petitions have been sent to the president. Why do you think that this particular CJ, in all, more than 5 petitions have been brought against her, seeking her removal? One under President Akufo-Addo, which was dismissed, and then now 5 petitions.
Yes, you see,
based on the 3 petitions, the earlier one, she has been suspended. Why do you think there's so much clamor, if I can put it that way, for her to be removed?
Yeah, you see, the substance of the issue is this. You can even have 1,000 petitions laid or given asking for the CJ to be suspended, but it doesn't mean that she is probably guilty of those petitions. And I wanted I used the situation of Jesus Christ to explain what is happening to the CJ, because you see, before he was even heard, people had already condemned him, and even after he was given fair hearing, and they didn't, like, the king didn't see anything wrong with Jesus Christ, the people still said, yes, we are aware, just kill him for us, just condemn him for us. And according to what I am seeing and gathering, I want to believe it's the same thing they are doing to the CJ. Even before they assumed power, they had already condemned the woman. Okay? They had already condemned her even before assuming power. So it doesn't really matter whether the petition has substance in it or not. The end goal is that they want to fire her. And so it doesn't really matter if what they are petitioning has substance or not. That is just what we are gathering, and I think it is unfair.
Sika, let's go into the petition and the petitions and the responses from the CJ. One from the name, one from Shining Star, the Shining Star petition, and then also Ayamga, a lawyer with the police, and then another one from Daniel Ofori. The issue about Ayamga and how, according to him, he was handled in court, and the fact that based on that he petitioned the president for the CJ to be removed. I wasn't in court that day. I don't know whether within the legal fraternity you ascertained or you got the information of exactly what happened in court and the basis for which he petitioned the president for her to be removed. The CJ has responded and said that why is she being singled out?
Well, before I go on, I think there's something that my colleague said that I think probably needs a bit of explanation or correction, that the procedure is not being followed. Actually, the procedure is being followed. One interesting thing about law is that I think till now we've not been able to define what is right and what is wrong. So when it comes to the moral compass, we don't know. You ask what is right. If you go to your jurisprudence class at the faculty level, it's one big topic. You go to look at St. Augustine and some other scholars, and their idea of what is right, what is wrong, and that form a certain basic understanding of what you are likely to face when you go to the courtroom. That's why sometimes in matters of civil matters, we say on preponderance of probability, who is able to produce a certain understanding and prove to the judge, so that the judge in this rightful mind think that this person has proved his case on preponderance of probability. That's why sometimes a high court will take a decision and then you go to an appellate court and it's overturned. But justices that are trained by the same system. And so it becomes, so it's not that the procedure is wrong, but sometimes the meaning we impute to some of these things is what makes people doubt whether even, that's why they sometimes even think that lawyers lie. But no, it's about how you're able to prove your case, how you're able to provide evidence to support what you're saying. If you say it's black, there should be some basis to know that it's black, and you should have a certain source or evidence, which evidence, how it should be adduced is stated in our laws. And so it's not that the procedure is not being followed, but if you have had a glimpse of what the petitioners petitioned and the responses, you would want to use, if you use objective test is saying that what would the ordinary person walking on the street see this to mean? And if you use that, sometimes it casts a bit of doubt. But some of them, you probably have to use what we call subjective test. It's quite limited to a certain understanding or reasoning based on a certain, let's say, documents or law or procedures or administrative, conventions. Now, if you go to, let's take for instance, you said we can go to the substantive term.
Yes.
If you go to the Shining Star one, and what you said that okay, the law provides for minimum 5 judges to sit on a matter, and when they are sitting as a court, not as an individual. And then when they are done,
that's the Ayamga.
Okay, Shining Star, his petition was it had to do with Shining Star has to even do with a case that has already been determined. So let's go to Ayamga now.
Yes.
So Ayamga comes and said that this is what happened to me in court. Yes. To be honest, I wasn't in court. I've not seen the court notes for that day, and I don't know what happened. And I'm not even sure the court notes will have what really happened. The notes will actually capture what the lawyers have said and all that, the procedure and the processes in court.
Right.
And even if it was true, even on the substantive matter, if you go to the Constitution, when a judge sits and he is exercising judicial power, you cannot sue him whether you think that he exercises rightly or wrongly. There's a certain procedure to, if you think it was wrong, to have it corrected. So he's sitting as a court, and that's why we have one high court. And so when the court sits in Kumasi is the same court as the one in Accra. The one in Adenta High Court, the same as the one at the Commercial Court. One. And so if you think there was a certain decision that was taken, it was not properly taken, you go higher. And the Constitution knows, the framers know why they said you cannot hold them liable for something they acted or they omitted to. You cannot. And so the moment you are even thinking that the decision they took is wrong, you cannot attack that judge. You can attack the ruling, the judgment, and then you invoke certain provisions of our Constitution or our court rules to be able to have it overturned by a different court. So that's why it goes up to there are some cases it goes up to even the Supreme Court and they go for review and it's overturned. And so the moment you assume that you say that you want to, for you to remove the Chief Justice anyway, there should be stated misbehavior. There are certain things that you need to show that he is not competent or his attitude or behavior bring disrepute to judiciary, and for that which reason you want to remove a justice of the Superior Court or even the Chief Justice. And so when I read that and the response, I actually thought that this is not a matter that we should have even considered. Not at all. Because the moment the petitioner sought to single her out, that in itself was even wrong. So we shouldn't have entertained it. He probably needed clarification. He needed to then have it explained to him that, see, when the person is sitting, he's sitting with other justices. And even that decision they even take, you cannot attack an individual. So even where justices sit and some, go on, so let's say it was 4, let's say 4-3 or 5-4, whatever decision that comes. Those who are in the minority and did not even agree with, they are actually part of it. But you can actually have your dissenting view. It is just for us. It's for scholarship.
Right.
If you have it. So that sometimes, especially Lord Denning, for law students or lawyers, they know Lord Denning, a very popular judge in the UK, and sometimes his dissenting views, sometimes in some other cases in the future, becomes actually the position of the law. So it is good, like I said, for scholarship to have dissenting views and you opine it, and it's part of the judgment. But actually, that is not the view of the court.
Okay.
So like majority carries the vote. So if you go to parliament vote, it's parliament that has voted. We don't care how many voted for. It's if majority vote for, it's like the election of Ghana. We can't say he didn't vote for His Excellency John Mahama, so he's not. No. The majority of it's Ghana that voted for him. We don't care where your vote went. At the end, when you counted, he was the president.
Right.
It's the same thing. So it's quite sad that I don't know. Like I'm saying, we don't have the benefit of knowing the bits on which the president had done this.
But what about the parts where Ayamga said that she made some comments, demeaning and disrespectful remarks against him after the judgment was read and the reasoning was not given? And that was, he said that was just her. In reading the response from the CJ, I didn't get that the CJ responded to that part, whether or not she indeed made those comments he describes as disrespectful after giving the judgment.
To be honest, let's assume, without admitting it's true, that she made those comments. That is enough to remove a whole Chief Justice. I'm just asking. I don't know. That is enough to remove a whole Chief Justice. If you've ever been in court, sometimes the judges would, maybe your phone rang or something, and they will tell you those things. They are very serious about certain things. And so if you misbehave in court, even you, the one at the bar, sometimes they go a bit hard on you. And so that's why they have guards and they have, the clerks and all that, telling you that put your phone on, you can't do this. You are misbehaving in court. They can walk you out. They can get you out. And that's what I'm saying.
Also get you arrested? I just want clarification.
No, it depends.
Can they get you arrested?
No, it depends. If what you have done is in contempt of the court,
okay,
it disrespect the court enough to run that they could actually pronounce that on you.
Right.
We've seen it in, what do you call it? In
the
some
2012
popular cases where they will tell you that they will take you, and they took some people in.
Yeah.
You get it. And so I don't know exactly what happened. What I'm saying is that let's assume, without admitting it's true, that it happened or that was said. Does that warrant us removing a whole Chief Justice? The judiciary is headed by the Chief Justice, and it's one of the arms of government. Now, if you look at the principle of separation of powers and checks and balance, it confuses us a lot. Why powers? That's why a lot of people should go for review and take a lot of the powers from president. Why should the president be able to even initiate the removal of the Chief Justice? The Chief Justice can't do that to the president unless at a certain level. You understand? But for this, it's quite easy for him to, okay, there's a prima facie case, form committee, okay, you're gone.
So do you think the problem now is not necessarily about the government or President Mahama, but what the Constitution is? Because if you follow what has happened so far, the president is only following the dictates of the Constitution.
So that is why in the popular case of Tufo as Attorney General, it is quite tried now. So I'm sure a lot of people have heard it. I mean, the judges had said that there is a spirit of the Constitution. It's something that normally you hear, and there's a letter and there's a spirit. And actually, you want to find out what the spirit is. Not just, okay, it says 1 + 1 is equal to 2, but what was the thinking of the framers at the time, those who gave us the Constitution? What were they thinking? So it's not just about following it. It's about ensuring that justice is done, so that you don't say I'm following it and you follow it to the detriment of everyone. We need to question why the suspension. We need to question at which level did the president think that this one you have to step aside for us to investigate it.
You think the 3 petitions, at least the ones we have now, we know that 2 more petitions have been sent to the president, but the 3 petitions that we have now and the responses from the Chief Justice do not warrant the suspension of the Chief Justice. There are not enough grounds.
In my personal opinion,
so
this one is my personal opinion.
There's no prima facie case in the first place.
In my personal opinion, I don't think we should, based on that alone, we should have gotten here. In my personal opinion, I don't think we should have gotten here. If you've been in public service for a while, you realize that in the administration of a public office, you won't always get it right. There are some that you chart a certain course and it becomes a certain convention for people to follow. And if you look at the other petition, I've forgotten who had that one, where there are so many allegations against the Chief Justice about her flying and all
Daniel
that.
Ofori.
Daniel Ofori. If you look at that of Daniel Ofori, you realize that a lot of it was either lack of understanding or knowledge of the procedure and the workings of the judiciary. So that for me, it was a complete waste of time that somebody raises things that the person could have actually gone to read. In some of the petition, the laws that were quoted were archaic. They are not the laws that applies now. And yet, she was called upon it not to just answer it. If you read, it's more of education to the people. And that's the whole Chief Justice. She has the judiciary. It's we are respected across the globe, especially in Africa, for how we manage the judiciary. And I think that we should always, at every point in time, try to defend that. We ought to defend it. The only challenge I have is now something is going on, which is fine anyway, which is they are in their right to have been doing that. The minority, they will jump into defending some of this because you don't really have civil society coming out to express their opinion on some of these things. I wish that wasn't the minority. I wish that if the Chief Justice is supposed to go before the committee, it won't be a known NPP lawyer. I had a friend mention that. Yes, I think I agree with you. But it should be a neutral person so that we see the neutrality. Because the moment it becomes a bit partisan, in this country, more often than not, we lose our conscience when it becomes partisan. We know what is wrong, we know what is right, but because my party is saying A, I cannot even come out and disagree, because if I disagree, I'll be whipped in line. And so our conscience is guided by our political leanings. And so I am praying that that is not where it will go. And I'm praying that I'm waiting to hear a lot from civil society on what has happened now. I don't think we ought to have gotten here. If you read, unless that's what I said, I think you had a question that why are there so many petitions against this? Trust me, when you want to change the status quo, you have these kind of things.
Yeah.
I was a student leader back in secondary school in Eastern Region, over 95 school then. Went to Oboka State College, and I was the Eastern Region Associate President. In my school, I didn't have a lot of people like me. I knew it. I was conscious of it. I had been trained for that. When I left, I was the assistant boys prefect. Ask anybody who finished my time, who was the SP. They will say it's me. I wasn't. I was actually not the main, because the one who defied all the odds, the one who said this is the status quo, but I am changing it. You won't have people like you. And so, with over the years, I've grown to accept whenever there's society is going against someone, I want to look closer and find out why, rather than thinking, hey, why is a lot coming against this person?
So why do you think there is that resistance? Even the Global Info Analytics polls that it had on the Chief Justice, a lot of Ghanaians wanted her out.
And what was the reasoning?
They didn't give any reasoning.
They just wanted. You see, some of these polls, sometimes I'm a researcher. Some of these polls, I really, what's the motive even trying to find out whether Ghanaians wanted the Chief Justice or not?
That is why
the person is working. The person is working with a certain class of people, and it's limited. You see, it's not everybody who gets to go to court. It's not everybody. How many Ghanaians are in court? The people. If the info analyst says that the bar association members and people who have gone to court before said they don't want the Chief Justice, maybe even that will have, maybe would have. It's not. It's like saying that it's coming to Africa and say how many people like Trump. Why should he make? Yes, people contacted that and said Africans wanted Trump because, I mean, a lot of them, the conservative views of against homosexuality and all that. But the question, it has no bearing on the American election. And so if we want to know what has been, go and talk to the American people who are qualified to vote. You see, research is not done in vacuum.
She's the Chief Justice for the people, and it emanates from the people.
What would be the? Let me ask you this question. What would be the interest of Ayawaso West Wagon constituents on how whether Asim Fosu MP should be, should be maintained or not? I mean, that's what happened.
No, we can't make that analogy because the Chief Justice is for Ghana. It's for the Republic of Ghana.
What would be your basis for judge?
Just lawyers.
No, what? No. But what would be your? You see, the person ought to be removed because of her administrative, what do you call it? A performance as a Chief Justice. It's not okay. How many people have had interaction or have seen, heard? This is the first time we are coming out. And these matters are coming out. Until this one came out, did we know the details of the petition and the responses? It just came out, and the research was conducted before then. So how then do you tell me that what was the knowledge of those who were interviewed regarding why he should be removed or not to warrant their answers? You can just get up and talk about things you don't know. It's restricted. Lawyers go to court, they have an experience. Okay, we've had these successful chiefs. I think this one is good, this one is bad. There will be a certain basis to make that argument. Then, I'm a litigant. I've been going to court. But I think this just. But if you go and ask a Legon student, do you think the Chief Justice will move or not? I mean, what's the basis for asking that question? I just want us to answer in this way. What would be the basis for asking a Legon student whether the Chief Justice should be removed or not? One above 18. Why should?
It's agenda setting.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense. As soon as I saw that, I said, who did this and who commissioned this work? And you see, what hurts me is we need to protect what we have. The democracy we have. We need to protect it. We don't need to begin to set precedent. When the NPP started the EC, what's her name? Charlotte's processes for impeachment. I'm one of those who were against it. I asked myself, has it gone to a level where she needs to be removed? If it's something we can deal with, let's deal with it. The moment you set certain precedent, especially within these fragment of institutions that come together to form or solidify or consolidate our democracy, you are setting a precedent that my girls will grab and say, Daddy, what did you guys do your time? Why did you bring us here? We don't need to start it. And so we should do this devoid. And I'm actually appealing to the president personally. I always say that His Excellency John Mama is one of the fantastic, let me use in this context, guys you can encounter. And I'm appealing to him, the individual, not even just his presidency, that no matter, I don't know what it is, She says agenda. I don't know,
But-
and I don't want to believe that it's an agenda, because I believe that this one, the gods of this land won't forgive anybody who agent any or propose any agenda towards hurting our democracy in our future. I don't think it's an agenda, but I'm appealing to him that he should take a second look at this and let's be careful and tread cautiously. No president has to come with his chief justice and go with his chief justice. We shouldn't start that precedent.
Do you think, Tabitha, do you think it will get to a point where the president will remove her? Knowing that now she's on suspension, there's a committee looking into the petitions. Do you think we'll get there?
I think we'll get there sooner than we expected. It's, as I indicated, it's something that they conceived whilst in opposition, and now they are bringing it to bear, and they are doing everything within their possible best to fire the CJ. It's not a hidden secret. I wasn't surprised to see that particular finding from Global Info Analytics. If you've been following him on social media closely, you see that everything he does it to favor the NDC in one way or the other. He has tried his possible best to appear neutral, but you see, everything he does is exposing him that he was planted to do the bidding of the NDC. Why do you go out there and pose a question like, should the CJ be removed? On what grounds? How many Ghanaians even know the work of the CJ? Let's be honest with ourselves. We know we have a Chief Justice, but a lot of people don't really understand what they do. Let's not kid ourselves. Ghanaians are so discerning that they will say, like they may ask questions that they wouldn't give them enough information for them to appreciate the question they have asked them. Imagine you just come and meet somebody on the way and say, should they remove the CJ? On what grounds? What has the CJ done? What has the CJ done to the ordinary Ghanaian for you to ask the person this question? I was thinking he will go around collecting data to see how people are responding to the new president and the way he is leading Ghanaians. Why don't they pose questions like, the president gave a 10% salary increment, but has increased electricity tariffs by 14 point something percent. What do you think about this? They will never go and ask this type of question. But a question like this is already telling you that this man is not out there seeking to protect the position of the CJ. He is there to ensure that everybody backs their decision or their plan of sacking the CJ. And look, I chanced on a conversation that was done on Channel 1 TV, and the position of their CEO was that, look, that question Global Info Analytics posed to ordinary Ghanaians is a question that shouldn't have even been asked in the first place, because it gives the vibe that you have plans of touching the CJ. What will necessitate this type of investigation? How does that change the fortunes of Ghanaians? And if you have a whole general secretary, I said general secretary, a whole party chairman of the NDC, you have the whole flag bearer as it was, come at the CJ heavily, even in opposition. You think now that they have power, they will not do anything? They will do something. And I'm not surprised. That's why I said, I am not surprised by the steps they are taking. And I know that they are going for the kill.
But we have on the committee that has been set up to investigate these petitions, 2 justices of the Superior Court, and then 3 members of the public who are not lawyers and who are not judges as well. They come, I want to believe that they come to in investigating these petitions with some level of knowing of the law, knowledge of the law, so that what the Council of States may have overlooked would be, they will see that in the petitions. As you were saying, Sika, that the petitions from your point of view, they do not warrant the removal of the Chief Justice. These people should see it, don't you think?
The reason why you have to actually form a prima facie case before the committee is set is so that we don't waste the the precious time of this country, resources. Because as soon as the committee is set, money, taxpayers' money is going. And I'm saying that if it shouldn't get there, we need the president needed not to have suspended her and then form this. Because from the readings, if you go to the for example, one of the petitions, it's already been dealt with. The principle of res judicata, where if a matter is done with, we don't try to re-litigate, because then we'll never end. Because as a born litigant, they want to be in court forever. And so when these are matters of law. So as soon as what I want to see is the reason for forming the committee, forming the idea that was a prima facie. I want to know which of the petition, because it could have actually just been one that was like, as for this one, no, you have a case to come and answer to the committee. Because upon reading it, not even her response, I read the petition different from her response to the petition. And when I read, I said, oh, but this one, that's where I was going. Then I went to read her responses, and maybe because I'm a trained lawyer, but and that's why I'm saying that it ought not to have gotten here. For me, it's a larger, ideals of democracy that needs to be protected. It's even reason why we don't need to let it get here. That it is so that if it is not at that level, transfer of cases, every chief justice will transfer cases based on certain reasoning. A case is transferred from a judge, the judge has sought permission to leave. You go to the court. Now there are some of the judges, they want the case to move very fast, because you see, justice delayed is justice denied. And so if a judge is out of jurisdiction for about a year or for a while or some months, all that we are saying that, okay, the case doesn't need to be given to another judge because what? We assume the Chief Justice or somebody has seen the Chief Justice or has an interest. Really hasn't been the procedure that when cases are on daily basis transferred, it's something that is done. And that becomes a basis for which we are forming the committee, suspending her. You see, you cannot guard the administrative powers of the Chief Justice. It doesn't help. The freedom to be able to exercise her administrative, functions. You don't need to curb. You don't need to try to cap it. And use it. So that's what happens with separation of powers. As per Pandit, let them be separate. Let them function. Then, of course, checks and balances. Okay, let's make sure that while that is being done, we check each other. And unfortunately, that's democracy. Me, I have a problem with democracy itself. I always say Galamsey is because of democracy. I'm sure in Burkina, if Galamsey needs to be stopped, it will be stopped in a day. Yes. So I personally, I'm not one of those who favor democracy at all. Throughout my life, I'm not saying I want a dictator or a totalitarian, but I'm just saying that it's rather harmed us. Sometimes we needed to do good, and we use the time rather to do bad because of the Constitution, because we say, oh, this is what the procedure says, this is what the majority are saying, and that's why we are here.
Do you think, I asked Tabitha that question, do you think that the CJ is going to be removed?
I'm not saying this prejudicial to this. I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's
from where it's going. She's likely to have resigned. I'm sure by this time she's consulting a lot, and to avoid the disgrace, she's likely to resign. And actually, if I am her lawyer, I ask her to resign. The system doesn't want you. She's done well. I was talking to someone who said, and Dampari, and you see everybody was happy, and I'm one of those who like people don't like. And then this person lives in one of the new apartments, and she's so excited with the family, like where they live is large and all that. And I said, but it was done during Dampari's time. So why didn't you say he's done well? He might not have gotten all right. He might have some. But today you pass by. You bring your foreigner pass by the police headquarters. You'll be proud to say that's a police chief's office. You understand? People now go. You see, the system, when it doesn't want you, sometimes it just they say you leave the stage when the applause is loud. The applause is being dimmed. So if she was listening to me, I say, madam, just resign, let them have their judicial system.
But you also talked about the fact that this has set a bad precedent. So if she's going to resign, then subsequently, in years to come, whichever government that comes to power could have their way with the judiciary. Then we do not have the judiciary being apolitical as the Constitution wants it to be.
You see, there are 2 more petitions. There are actually going to be more petitions.
If she doesn't resign?
Yes, there will be more petitions. And people, unfortunately, will probably give more information to try to get her frustrated and all that. For me, she's a human being. She's an individual before she becomes a Chief Justice. She has a family and all that. And if you serve your nation, you see, I'm one of those who
so what happens if she resigns? Does she resign as the Chief Justice and still become a Justice of the Supreme Court?
No, she resigns. She's gone. It's just like any other resignation. Right. She's resigned from the judicial service, so right. she goes home, and that ends the matter, and we'll find a new Chief Justice. But and to be honest, she's likely to resign. I'm not saying this because I have any information, but predictably, she will resign. With more petition coming, she will resign. Not because she's running away, because of her dignity. Sometimes you don't need to fight with them. Sometimes keep your white clothes and still be white and walk away. Let them do what they want to do. But I'm not assuming there's anything anybody is doing anyways, just to put it on record. But I'm thinking that with what I've read, I don't think that we needed to treat, not her, the judicial service this way. Right. I'm waiting to see what the Bar Association will say, our president will say. I'm waiting to see what other civil society organizations will say. I'm wondering why the Ghana Bar Association has been quiet. Nothing from them. Have they been quiet? I'm not sure they've been quiet.
About this?
I heard they are going to the Bar Association to also touch that place. There are a lot of places they want to reset. Oh, no.
We are association.
You see, we said same. Nothing will happen to the CJ. And today something is happening to her. I know.
As for the CJ, it was quite predictive that some of the statements and utterances meant that, let me tell you.
What about the EC?
I'm not sure
you talk about the utterances made before and even after assuming office, I'm talking about the government, then you also think about the utterances or some of the comments made about the EC. And for example, lawyer Kwame Adolfo has said that the government wants to get rid of the CJ in order to get rid of the EC. That was his position. I mean, he mentioned it on the show.
No, you see, the unfortunate thing is, before we realized they would have taken everywhere, because now the reset they are doing is meant to put their people there. And look, just this Tamale issue I spoke to you about, the CEO was fired and immediately replaced with an NDC parliamentary candidate to take over.
As for Tamale, it's quite shameful.
To take over as the CEO.
It's not on, so we'll talk about.
Look, you go to GTEC, okay? They advertise some positions, and before we realized, even before the closure of the whole advertisement, they have already replaced people with their own people, card-bearing NDC people.
But aren't there card-bearing NPP people also who were put in position? I think I don't buy that argument.
I don't
buy that argument.
The agenda has been. The agenda is clear.
Political parties always have agenda.
I know.
I don't agree with you on this. Political parties always have agenda.
Yes.
You see,
that is why we need to also make it clear.
Let not the kettle call the pot black. That has been my stance. We need to sanitize our political space.
You haven't been fair.
No.
You haven't been fair to me. Because you even made
agenda.
To tell me that have we suspended any Chief Justice?
You removed the Electoral Commission.
Electoral Commission?
Why
was she removed? That is the question. Why was she removed?
Have a reason why somebody should be removed. You find a reason. You're a human being.
Was it not true? The reason why she was removed, was it not true she committed that particular crime? Was it not true?
She didn't commit any crime. She should have been in jail. Or you didn't want to.
No, what I mean is there was a reason why they stood on
It
to
was agenda.
sack her.
It's the same
What was the
agenda
agenda? Because they were there accusing one another.
So
Some-
this is political equalization.
Yes,
The
I mean,
NDC
it's
did
payback.
not.
but you see,
You see, for me,
but
for
you
me
see,
as a
for
lawyer,
you to
judiciary
sit as a lawyer
no, we should
and
sit-
to watch the judiciary.
Yes. I'm not
being-
watching. What can you do? It's democracy.
No.
And they say kebi mamin kebi.
Are they
so
not
means
supposed to
kebi.
be independent?
Yes, can it be?
Are they not supposed
The
to
EC
be
is independent.
independent?
You went there to remove it.
No, the EC is independent,
Very
yes.
independent.
But she was removed for a reason.
Assassin is supposed to be independent, so you don't come here trying to influence. Let me.
No.
You see,
You see, Sika,
let's be fair.
with ourselves.
You're a politician. I'm sure I can describe you as a politician. You're a politician, and I'm saying that until when I saw the two excellencies, the former president and the current president in photos, my heart, jumped for joy. That's what I want to see. You get it? I wanted to see Ghana coming together. So these people won, this party won. Let's come together and help the party build. Let's give solutions. That is what I want to see. I'm looking for an opposition that will not criticize. Will say, okay, this is what you've done, but I think we could have done it better this way. Trust me, a generation is being raised who will begin to acknowledge and appreciate and reward those political movements. Where you don't come criticize, we have all seen it. Give us an alternative. Opposition is supposed to give us constructive criticism, and that's alternative. Okay, you are saying 40% is what the promises are. What has been the alternative?
So the 120 days is not up. So let's just give the government the grace period.
If the government does not
Let's
perform,
see.
what is the alternative?
Let's see what happens.
Sure.
Let's see what happens. But let's move on to the NPP and the thank you tour. This afternoon we heard from Dr. Bawumia, the flag bearer of the NPP for the 2024 general election. And then he says that 2.1 million party supporters did not vote, and that's why the party lost. So it was an internal issue, and he juxtaposed that the 2024 election results to that of 2020. So let me start with Sika. Why the NPP lost? Now we have the Okoye committee reports. We don't have the details of it. What exactly?
So there's only one.
He said one copy. So, what your thoughts? The fact that it was more internal.
I beg to disagree. I'm not sure it's more internal because you see, it's quite contradictory the statement His Excellency the former president made, former vice president made, because if you say that, so he made a statement about the religious issue that internally is predominant Christian party, but he won. So externally, it could have been the matter. Then that could mean that if you have that backing of your party, they should have gone to vote. So the question you should ask yourself is that, why would they vote for me? I will not go to the polls to vote at the general. That's how.
So the people who voted for him are not. They are delegates, right? Tabitha.
Yes.
They are only
Yes.
very
and
few.
it takes the delegates, maybe 6,000 of them, to put everybody where they vote to go and vote. And most of these people listens to their wives and children and all that before they go and cast their vote. And if we believe that they were not influenced by gift, monetary and all that to vote, then they ought to have been able to convince their family to go and vote. Trust me, the reason why NPP lost is in our faces. Unfortunately, the NDC has also started. What happened in Tamale is one of the reasons why the NDC lost. So you go and a whole boss of an institution, you're able to subject the person to questioning. You know what is sometimes sad? Some of these institutional heads, they are more learned than some of these politicians. So it's quite annoying to have somebody who doesn't have the technical know-how come question you about your job. And I think Ghana has gone into, when I saw the reaction, I have a colleague in the office who said that the gentleman didn't behave well and he felt the minister too was his decision was rash. And I said, yes, I believe there would have been a better way, but I'm actually proud of him. I'm proud that I knew he was going to be sacked. It was too obvious from what Suhini and Co were saying in the video. But it is to be sad because you think you're a member of parliament and somebody is trying to tell the minister that this is not what happened and what account you are getting is contradictory to what actually happened, because it was a very sensitive matter. You had somebody losing a life. You don't go on the media trying to explain why he lost. You see, you are trying to let them relive the pain and then have a reason why their person died. And instead of blaming us, when I say government, us, all of us, ensuring that that hospital had the needed equipment, we're rather trying to blame a certain procedure, which we know. You go to, and this one died because they went, there was no bed.
Sika, let's talk about the NPP. You don't have
no. So that's why you lost. The sort of arrogance, and the question you should ask yourself was that, did NPP find out who Ghanaians really wanted at the time, so that going to the vote, the election, we said, okay, this is what Ghanaians wanted, and so let's push the person. I think Nana had what, over 90%, right? When the last one that became president, the prime, I think he had over 90%. That was an overwhelming, convincing vote.
Prior to that, what was his percentage?
Pardon?
Prior to that, what was his percentage?
I talked about the
primaries. I'm talking about primaries. So lower than he got. Yes.
2020, nobody contested him.
That's what I'm saying.
No, prior to that, I think I've forgotten the percentage, but it was also quite high.
It was very close.
Why I'm saying this?
Close.
The you're talking about
Between him,
the 17 apostles one. With let me come. The reason why NPP lost is obvious. It's too obvious. Politically, they were not in sync with the people. To be honest, you have administrative heads who were showing signs of arrogance. It's not just NPP. I think it's a Ghanaian thing. I happened to ask somebody in Parliament, a very senior member of Parliament, not member of Parliament, but a worker in Parliament, one of the directors, that why do they keep committing the same sins and losing and coming? Can't they having to reach a time where you realize that if you do this, you lose? You get it. It was quite obvious. They were not listening. It's more like they were saying, and some of us are very close to some of them. It was like, this is leading to a ditch. At a point in time, as a researcher, I had mentioned that MP wasn't going to get more than 45%. It was not in our political history to have any party with. And so I was like, hey, what are you saying? Then you're not a good researcher. I just kept quiet. The percentages came in, we saw it. I was like, it was obvious. What? And at the point, you could actually have members of NPP go out, we call something political hype. You know it is not good. You sit on the road and you think that waving flags will let you win. The question is that ask yourself, it's very simple. What do the people want me to do? Right. Can I do it? Why will I want to do it?
Tabitha, please come in here. Yes. We have just about 2 minutes to end the show.
You know, I think Sika, I don't know where he collected his data from, but this is clearly the fact. If you look at the voter turnout, it tells you that the NDC didn't really win this election because they were able to convince a lot of Ghanaians to vote for them. If statistics is anything to go by, you can tell that the 115,000 Ghanaians that voted for him to become president, okay, is not overwhelming, okay, because that is the voter difference. Let's look at it this way. 2020, what did they get? 2024, what did they get? I mean the NDC. The voter difference is 115,000 votes, meaning that they were only able to convince just this number. And out of the 2.1 million people that didn't vote, it tells you that they did not have confidence in the NDC to even go out and cast their votes.
And it also tells you that they didn't have confidence in the NPP as well. That's why they decided
that is it.
And what shows that is so you see, who didn't go to
so you see, you cannot say there has been an overwhelming this thing. That is, you'll be wrong.
2.1 million people. How confident are you that they were all going to cast their votes in your favor if they had gone out?
The reason why I am saying so is that if you look at the statistics, that's why I said if it is anything for us to go by, look at the number of people that voted for us in 2020. Compare that to the number of people that did vote for us in 2024. And you see that the 2.1 million people that did not go out to vote are almost all of them MPP. If statistics is anything to go by.
Why are they MPP?
Why? Because if you look, that's why I'm saying that. Just look at the votes.
No, the vote. So
no,
who
listen,
says that
look, do you appreciate numbers? And let's understand.
I do appreciate, but how do I
identify? If you appreciate
NPP?
Numbers, let me tell you something. You have every party has their base.
Yes.
Every party has their base.
Yes.
And if your base doesn't come out to vote, you will know that these people are not my base.
Can I take you from that idea? In this studio 2016.
You
no,
can't
in this
take me
studio,
away from that idea because
let me help you.
That is it. Our base, listen, and it is clear. If you look at the statistics, that's why I said, you can see that most of the people that did not come out to vote come from our base. Most of them are coming from our base.
So you are saying that there was a likelihood that if
I thought
they
the
had
Northern was
gone out
also a
to
base
vote,
of NPP.
they would have voted in favor of the NPP.
Sure.
I thought the Northern was also.
But you see,
I mean, after the NPP won,
as we indicated,
well
I'm
in the
coming.
North.
No, Sika, let me make my point. After we went, after everything, okay, we realized that the 2.1 people were people that voted for us in 2020. But did not vote for us in 2024.
Why
Do you know
And
reasons?
we said we blamed it on apathy. It is
why apathy?
why apathy? Why not apathy?
Why?
Why not apathy?
They stand to gain
You
more.
can talk about the arrogance as you were talking about.
So you remember in 2020, Nanado was on the ticket. In 2024, it wasn't him. So why do you think it's just apathy?
Yes.
Not the fact that
You know,
people did not.
People, listen,
talks
it
about
doesn't matter.
It would have been. I would have bought the argument.
If it's the same Nanado.
Exactly.
No,
it was the same
no,
person.
listen.
But you're saying the people wanted is their party supporters. Why not Nanado supporters? Why are we not looking at that?
You see, one thing we need to understand is that people have, people will vote for a political party not necessarily because of a candidate. Not necessarily because of a candidate.
Because?
But maybe, people have different reasons why they vote for political parties.
Play a major role.
Yes, so if that is even anything to go by, I can tell you for a fact that our candidate even made things better for us. And if
So it could have been worse.
No.
So you could have had like 30%.
it's possible. It's
30%.
possible.
If you had gone with who?
I don't know. But I am gathering because listen, you ask yourself,
Tell me a minute.
what did the candidate,
Tell me a
okay, do personally to reduce the votes of the MPP? What did he do? Can you pinpoint one or two things that the
data should be
candidate?
telling us.
So you see, they are looking at the overall performance of the government and the
I don't
party.
talk. I want to ask a question.
Listen,
Did your data tell you that you were winning?
They are looking at the overall performance of the government and the party, and they voted. They did not vote largely because of only the candidate. You cannot make that assumption.
No, I want to ask a question. So did your
Okay.
data tell you that you're going to get that percentage prior to the election? Did you have a data that told you that, 45% Kenya? Did you get that data? Because all the things we heard in the data was that we're winning,
Yes,
we
have to go now.
Yes, that people, individuals did their own whatever
You know what I
investigations.
think? I think
But
the
you
NPP
see,
had the data that showed the true NPP managers. They had the data that showed the performance and why they were losing. But you use, call it political hype. You need to hype to ensure that you shore up the numbers for the next. Okay, it will be interesting to know
Right.
2028.
no,
We
but
have to
Sika,
end
you
the
see,
conversation here.
that conversation where you were
end the
saying is because of the
Tabitha.
candidate. I think it's
No, I didn't say because of the candidate. No.
You have run out of
No.
time.
I didn't say because of. No, I didn't. No. I didn't say. No.
because
I
of
didn't. No.
the candidate.
No,
Sorry,
this is
we have
so.
run out of time. I have some few messages. Let me
Yes.
read them. I apologize. We have run out of time. Basit Abdul Basit Mahama says this turnout analysis is inaccurate and based on unscientific consideration. Voting is not a compulsion. Hence, a winner is not based on turnout but a threshold. Also, he goes on to talk about the CJ matter. He says the chairman of the committee, Justice Paman himself, has a petition for his removal before the CJ. He may be conflicted. I have to end it here. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming, Sikan, to Breast, a private legal practitioner. Tabitha Ayila.
I think this
NPP
evening.
communication team member. Thank you.
But
Thank you so much.
let me just say
We
something.
have to go. We have to go.
Okay.
Thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe.